Welcome to Great Talk and Entertainment. I am your host, KJ, and this is the podcast where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. As I continue on, this is a spoiler review for episode 7 for the new Disney Plus series by Marvel Studios, or Marvel Television Studios, I should say. Agatha All Along. Again, this is a spoiler review, so if you have not seen this, pause this, give this video a thumbs up, go watch it, and then come back, because I would love to hear your opinions, your theories on where you think this is going, and just how you feel in general about this particular series. Love to hear it. So do that and come back, because again, y'all, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned. Let's get into it. This episode starts off with Agatha and Billy walking to the next test, where these two have to do the next challenge and find a way to get to the end of the Witch's Road. And we see that these two are arguing over the fact that Agatha knows something, and obviously Billy has a lot of questions. And out of all of them, we learn that Billy considers Wanda not her mother, which just kind of just shows us how much, I guess he was much happier with the new life that he has from William's life. And maybe because he was a little boy, a younger little boy in the WandaVision. So, in story wise, I guess that William's parents gave him a loving, caring home, obviously, and he probably felt normal, like what he thinks a normal family is viewed as from his experience with Wanda and Vision. So I really like that, and that indicates a lot of maybe some unsolved, emotions that I don't know if they'll deal with in another Marvel film or projects, or will they continue any of those issues with the Vision series that they're working on, which would be very interesting to see. And the reason why I bring that up, because this ain't really, I thought at first that this was Agatha being the villain now. Like, this whole time, Agatha is the true villain. But now it's showing us that Wanda might be the villain. And Agatha's, like, secret plan or what she's trying to achieve might not be so evil. It might be just something personal for her that she wants back, and maybe whatever issues she's dealing with. And so it really indicates there's more of a deeper meaning to this. And you know what else it shows? That it reminds us from the Wanda's vision that Billy and Agatha must have bonded, because if you remember in a lot of these episodes, Agatha was babysitting them for whatever reason if Wanda and Vision were doing something, whether doing something with the town or figuring out that they're trapped in West Viewpoint. She was kind of babysitting them. And we know that Wanda in a way had no idea that this happened, and she has no idea why that Hex was there. And she's always stated from that series into like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is Wanda doesn't know how she was controlling anybody in that neighborhood. So there's that. And then I wonder, from the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness 2, is that since Billy has confirmed in this episode that he doesn't consider Wanda his mother, I wonder if this is the Billy from that other universe where Doctor Strange and Miss Chavez went to, and we saw the Wanda from Earth 616 try to take the two boys, Billy and his brother, away, but I don't think so. I don't think that's it, but it could be. That's the way they're hinting it. So who knows? But the story continues on, and the next challenge is tarot cards. Now, I'm not very familiar with tarot cards. I understand the concept of it, and from doing my research, this show did the basic standard to just knowledge of it. Because in this challenge, the first card was a chariot, which it means you're leaving something behind and your mysteries away too. And then there was a sword that falls down, and it seems like that was the wrong answer. So the next card happened is a 7 of swords, and it was reversed, but the sword still fell. So Agatha kind of took over and just started slamming cards, and these swords keep falling down. But then this is where it gets very tricky, but I also appreciate it because I thought this was executed perfectly, and it goes so well with the story, and it ties in a lot of multiverse stories, what's going to happen next throughout this episode, I should say. And this is where we discover that Lillian and Jennifer are alive, but we discover that Lillian is really struggling on understanding why she gets these visions, and we later found out that she's somewhat time traveling through her timeline, and even possibility different multiverse of this. But she seems like she's stuck in a time loop. And the one thing that had me thinking that is that she reveals that the flow of time is an illusional. But it gives Lillian these visions of what could happen in the future or even the past. And they're all different viewpoints on this on previous episodes. So again, the theory is I feel like Marvel is hinting that Lillian saw everything that might have happened in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, the events that happened between Doctor Strange and Wanda herself, and knew it was going to happen before they knew. And I also feel like some way, somehow, Agatha knew about it, whether she broke the spell but somehow got back cast into that spell. I'm not sure, but I think Lillian and Agatha know the events of that, and maybe Lillian saw that in the future. But again, it could be a multiverse thing, which also had me thinking like, okay, maybe Agatha and the other witches know a magic spell that they can cast to keep the TVA off their trail, and maybe not even be on their radar, because we know that in a way the TVA is watching everything on a screen, and either you can go by the low-key way of how the TVA does it, or Deadpool and Wolverine with that version of the TVA, which they both do the exact same thing, is watch a screen, they see a line, and then when the lines kind of spurt some roots, that's other multiverses. And so I think in theory that Lillian's on a repeat, but I wonder how she got stuck in a time loop of a repeat where it just comes over and over again, and she's not physically there, but we see through this episode when she gets the chance to do when she takes over the tarot cards, she's failed, then she comes back, does it again. An example of one thing that started is they had to ask a question. So the question that now I'm going to refer him as the teenager is he William or Billy? And which is very interesting too, is she said that was a good question, and the way they explained it on the table is the middle is you, the bottom is what you're missing / your quest, the top left is the part you leave behind: wounds suffer, lessons learned. The top right is space and growth from discovery, and then the opposite of the left as well. Now the right is fall to reach your destination, right? And we see that. So these the way that it kind of is, and I know I kind of mix it up, but that's how they were basing off these tarot trait cards. The way the producers and the screenwriters and Marvel, but basically, like, these are more about discovering what you're desiring. Basically, what are you looking for, and why are you needing this, and what's your motive to it, and it gives you your kind of like your answers to it. Like, would you ever find true love, or do you think I can be rich? Blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just one of those things. But when he asked that question, now the swords weren't falling, but the whole ceiling started coming down. But it was right, but now they had to leave. And another thing, too, before all that, we know the Salem Sevens is getting closer to them because they were underneath the ground. So, they can be off the road, I guess. But this is where we see Lillian have another flashback, or she goes back in time into her younger self. And we've been seeing this older woman talking to her younger self version of Lillian, which is probably like her mentor or her mother, who knows. But it all comes back to, death is her destination for Lillian. And so she was going to make the ultimate sacrifice. And what we learned about when the quote was, death is the destination for her, that was really talking about Rio, which they officially made it true that Rio is Lady Death. And everything that she's done, she's gone through this season, these tarot trait cards started there were more for her. Now, it also kind of confirms, too, with Rio, I just want to branch in, is that her parents can always be different, because we saw on this episode her face look like a skeleton. And now it really does. So, like, if she was in a Thor movie, obviously her appearance is going to look a lot different than what she did look on Earth. And she can look different if she was in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So it all depends, but it'll still be Aubrey Plaza's voice, but should just be in a different style and a different look. So I think they have a bigger plans for her, and keeping Rio off the screen is a smart way where you can just tell the story of that she was kind of scheming, she knew how to play it smart, and she's not somebody who's just gonna get killed on this show, basically. And that's what it was. But they successfully got past the test. And now, again, maybe there has to be a true meaning to this, a significant meaning to this, that in this episode, the stairs go up. So this episode and the last episode, the stairs were going up. All the episodes before this episode and the episode before this, all the stairs were going down. So I feel like they're getting closer to the end, which is probably above the Witch's Road in some type of capacity. But then the Salem 7 catch up to them, and as they're escaping, Lillian makes the ultimate sacrifice. She stays and fights and does this magic where they all levitate up towards the season where all the swords are at, and they leave it at the cliffhanger. Who knows if Lillian survived it. But another thing I noticed too, the way they ended this episode, it had a lot of that. I wonder if they're gonna answer all of that on the next episode, or they're gonna answer these have these questions answered basically in other Marvel projects. Because here's the thing that I noticed too about this episode with Lillian is when she was talking to her mentor when she's a younger version of herself, you didn't see much, but the background to me looked kind of orange, like a dark orange with some red, which reminded me of the afterlife with the Soul Stones. So if you remember in Infinity War, that's where Thanos saw the little girl of Gamora, and it was orange. And then in the deleted scenes from the Avengers Endgame, we see Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, in their afterlife, talk to his full-grown adult daughter in the Soul Stone background, which again is orange, and the background in this scene orange. Now the difference between that is those two had like some type of water. It was flooded with water on where they were walking down, so their feet were covered up. With this one, it seemed dry, but it seemed like they were sitting down, obviously, in like some type of old English medieval castle of a patio or some sort, and they were just having tea with some green leaves on the side and whatever it was. But I wonder if this is just what is like the few images that your soul carries with subconsciously. I'm not sure, but I thought that was pretty interesting. And if this is what I'm thinking too. If in theory, I believe that the way the Marvel Studios is gonna pull this off, to me, is say like there's many ways to do the multiverse and not get caught by the TVA. And some witches like these have the advantage of magic, whether it's dark magic, witch magic, they just have magic. And I'm not surprised if they could cover their tracks for the TVA, won't even notice it on their screen, or get a radar or alarm system, turned on or whatever, triggered on, I should say. But and what I mean by that too is like, I think that she's not just flowing through time, but she's flowing through the future and multiverse verses, because she's seeing different outcomes of the same situation. Think about it. Doctor Strange did that in Infinity War, and he said there was only one. There was only one ending out of a billion, right? And I think she can do that without doing what Doctor Strange had to do, where he's like crosses his legs, closes his eyes, and he's kind of having like a seizure of some sort. I think she just that's her ability. And I think it's totally different type of magic, obviously. But I think that since she's lived on Earth for like over a century, she's not new to this. But that's why I think she's literally just time traveling and multiverse traveling too. Like she can go back and get the answers, or go to the future and get the answers. So that's what I think. I think that's the type of witch Lillian is. I think the way they'll tie that up is Lillian must have read some like that Darkhold book of dark magic. And I think that again, I think she's probably the ones that knew how to dodge the TVA. And that's why you only see her, Rio, Agatha, Jennifer, and Allison, if you want to add her, that, hasn't got caught by the TVA. So that's what I'm thinking with that. And do I think she's dead? I I would say yes for this. For this I would say yes. I would be shocked if she comes out alive on this one. I can't see how they would write this out, unless the only thing I can think of is Rio's gonna show mercy. But if she's Lady of Death, like she is, she's been confirmed, then she's not going to show mercy to Lillian. So I would say yes. I think they killed this character off. That's what I think. Now let's talk about the next topic: is teenage. Is that William or Billy? I Here's what I think. I think that can be. I think there is a way to say that two souls can share a body and not kind of tarnish or mess up the story with Moon Knight. I believe that if there was any way, I believe that these two souls merge together, and they both just share the same thoughts, the same feelings. I think some of William's personality is part of Billy now, and I think Billy's personality is part of William's now. And I think like the goofiness, the corniness is William, but I think when it comes to the pain and suffering and the issues that he's dealing with when it comes to Wanda is Billy. So I think you can just say this is Billy, full time Billy, but I think they're gonna say that both their souls merged together in some way. So William is reborn as Billy. That's what I think they're gonna go with that. Now let's talk about Rio. Now Rio has officially been confirmed now. If unless you read the spoilers and got yourself a Funko Pop, Rio is Lady Death, and I know the one thing people have always asked me is how they're going to do this now with Deadpool and her, and since Thanos is gone. I think it's too late to even try to say that Lady Death, aka Rio, and Thanos were in a relationship. I think it would mess it up because there's no other reason for them to date too, because they changed Thanos' reason to snap half the universe. Yes, in comic books it was to win the love for Lady Death, so Thanos snapped half the universe away. Yes, he was jealous of Deadpool because Lady Death fell in love with Deadpool because he can regenerate and come back to life, basically. So I think that is what the comic books were about, but I think that it's too late to even pull that off, and that story would not make sense in the timeline of the MCU as far as live action goes. So I'm okay with that, and that's fine. I think the love story that Lady Death has with Agatha is the better choice, and it makes much more sense if you're just basing it off all the live action movies and series and Disney Plus specials and stuff. Like, this is the right story. There's so much other things that are so tied into Thanos and Endgame and Infinity War that this show can be kind of left out of that and not really be tied into Thanos in that sense, because it doesn't really affect them. They can talk about if they were blimped away or whatever, but I guess you can't really blimp Lady Death at all. And you probably can't really get rid of Agatha like that either, so I don't know. But I would say, no, let's not even try to find a way to add the comic book accuracy to Lady Death's love life. I think the love life that you're seeing here right now in this show is the best choice to me, personally. And I'm okay with that. So I like where they're going, and I do hope that maybe we get a kiss scene. I think that's an important thing to really make this story, really good and to keep everything going. Because even if it's a flashback, we just need that confirmation of like, Rio, Lady Death, and Agatha were in a relationship. They were partners, and I think that's important because the way they're telling this story throughout all these episodes. So that's just me on that. But other than that, man, if I had to give this a 1 out of 10, I'm giving this a 10. I loved it. And I love the cliffhanger. I just don't have a lot of faith that they're gonna keep Lillian alive in this show. I think that was it, and I think they're just saving the tone of where episode eight's gonna take us, basically. So that's just my opinion, but I loved it. I loved everything. I love how this is going. I just want to point out that I loved when they showed the scene of like Lillian in this dress and she was falling. I just love the cinema photography to that. It looks so artistic. It reminded me of like the Black Swan movie. It just and a couple other movies that's kind of like that. I just loved everything about that too, and that was one of my favorite scenes. So this episode particularly, just had so much things that I enjoyed, and that's why I'm giving it 10. And here's another example of why I'm giving this a 10 too. Just the last one is the outfits that everybody wore in this. Like there was Disney reference, there was medieval time reference. Like it was just neat, you know. The princess and the evil queens, like it was just cool. So I loved it. But that's my review, y'all. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.